Welcome back to the Takeout. Thanks for hanging out with us. 6 Democrats, 2 Republicans met on the debate stage last night for the second debate in California's open, meaning nonpartisan primary for governor. Now, the candidates did what candidates always do. They sparred over this, they sparred over that, but there's one thing they more or less agreed about. California's kind of a mess. Listen.
We have the highest rent in the United States of America. The thing that's been missing in this conversation on homelessness is let's prevent people from losing their home.
One of the biggest reasons we're not growing jobs is we don't have anywhere for workers to live.
We need to make structural change in every one of the places where Californians can't afford to live.
My mother was an immigrant who came here from Panama, and she bought her home, and everyone should have the opportunity. It's slipping away.
The gas tax, it is the most regressive tax in California.
An absolute failed Democrat progressive agenda that is destroying California.
We've got to be a state again where we build things.
CBS News' Julie Watts was one of the moderators. She joins us from the Ontario airport. Julie, it's great to see you. It sounded like kind of a low-level indictment of Governor Gavin Newsom and the Democratic legislature in California. At least that's how I read it.
You know, I think a lot of these problems have been around since before Governor Newsom, but yes, that is how at least the Republican candidates would frame it. This is all Governor Newsom and the Democratic legislature's fault. It's interesting because a couple of those candidates on stage were part of the Democratic legislature when some of these bills and these policies were first enacted. And Antonio Villaraigosa, we're showing right there, he was the Assembly Speaker, one of the most powerful roles in the state, and then went on to be LA mayor and told me in our interview, our one-on-one interview series, that he realized once he became mayor the sort of impact of some of the legislative policies they're passing. So I would say it's probably not just the current governor and the current legislature, but I will say our Democratic supermajority, which makes us really a one-party state, has very little sort of input or negotiation from the other side. I think that is what they would all say probably has a little bit to do with where we're at right now.
And Julia, almost everyone on the debate stage had some idea about how to make California more affordable, how to make things less expensive. And you had a back and forth that I think was really important with Javier Becerra about one idea he's introduced in this campaign. Let's play that.
California Supreme Court ruled that temporary price freezes were unconstitutional. What would make your proposed state of emergency different than that?
I am calling for a freeze. I am calling for an opportunity to sit everyone down. I am calling for an opportunity to reveal behind the curtain what insurance companies are doing.
But if the court's already ruled that that was unconstitutional, how is your plan different?
Well, Julie, I'd like to go to court with you on that one. I was the Attorney General of the state of California, and I did defend our people to try to get the lowest cost. And I'd be willing to go to court to tell you that I could call that freeze, even though you're telling me we can't.
That's a freeze in insurance premiums, as I understand it, Julie. And
right.
There is going to be a lot of, I think, voter curiosity about promises, plans, and what the fine print of these promises and plans are for a lot of the Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, so, you know, Major, that was sort of my role, my assignment for this debate was I was basically told, do an accountability interview with 8 people live in 28 minutes. It's not been done before, so it could have gone either way. But what you see there is an example of that. These candidates are going out and they're making these promises that many of us know are not actually possible. The governor does not have the authority to freeze insurance rates. And listen, it's their job, right, to tell people how they're going to fix things. The problem is some of these folks can't actually do what they're promising. So that was the point of my segment in our debate last night, was to really push back and get them to explain, well, how do you think you can do that? And if you can't, what are the other options? In this case, listen, insurance in California is regulated under a voter-passed proposition. Those rates are regulated by the insurance commissioner, and he is mandated to increase rates based on certain criteria. So the fact that the 2 candidates have said they wanted to freeze rates, it's just not possible. I mean, you heard him there say, okay, I'll take it to court. And certainly he could try, and then he could go to court. And that will be interesting if he is our next governor. And frankly, Javier Becerra right now among the Democrats is polling very high. So he may very well be our next governor, and I'll be looking forward to seeing him go to court and try it.
And Julie, what is the state of the race? Not the debate, because I'm not asking you to be a theater critic. You're an accountability journalist, and that was the role you played last night, and quite well, if I do say so myself. What's the state of the race?
You know what? I think the answer to that is we absolutely don't know. We saw Matt Mahan's sort of cred go up last night. He's now sort of neck and neck with Katie Porter. You've got Steyer, Becerra sort of at the top right now. But they're all within a few percentage points. And I think in most of these polls within the margin of error. So I don't know that we're going to know until, in fact, I don't even know because, we're a mostly mail-in ballot state that we'll know on election day. I think it may be a few weeks before we figure out who the top Democrat is. Now, you can see there is a spread between the two Republican candidates, Bianco and Hilton. And Hilton is really pulled ahead here. Bianco is very much the MAGA candidate. And I think a lot of folks are saying, you can kind of cap out there. So, I guess it's a wait and see, Major.
And we will keep checking in with you, Julie Watts. The big X factor, 26% in that poll you just saw, still undecided. Thanks so very much.